Hello, hello, hello. Salam. This is Doc, aka the Dim Sum Don, aka Yan Yan Bigelow, aka the Big Boss Mono, aka the Dim Sum Don, aka Batista Von, aka the Street Bullet, aka your host, your thankful host, your man of the hour, and I am here to say thank you. Thank all of you for the support. This is the intro to episode 10. I didn't know I'd make it to episode 10, but apparently there was 10 people willing to talk to me, and I want to say this is a very special episode to me. I interviewed my friend Droman all the way from the Middle East, from the Holy Land, and he tells some pretty cool stories, and I hope you guys listen. But once again, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for all the support. Thank you for the feedback. Thank you for all the good vibes. And yeah, just hope you enjoy this show. Thank you so much. Hello, hello, hello. How's everybody out there?
Hello, hello.
My name is Doc,
What?
aka the Gunatic Fringe, aka Kenny Gumega, aka Toru Yano, aka Maid Day. I can't finish that one. But today I got with me this brother. We've been talking on and off for maybe like 5, 6 years, and he's a good brother from the real Holy Land, the shoot Holy Land. Um, it's Droman. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I didn't realize you were now Toriano. And
Oh yeah.
I thought of you as Big Tom, Big Tomohiro.
Oh yeah.
But yeah,
Oh, you know what?
doing
I'll do. I got something for that, but that's somebody else's screen name. But I can do this. My name is Toru Yano. My name is AKA the man with the flan, AKA the stone. I can't do it.
I
Stone.
don't
There's
I honest,
there.
honestly honestly if you want to riff on it, maybe take a second to think about it off there. I'd say do a riff on all of the chaos nicknames.
Uh,
Stone Pitbull, Loose Explosion,
okay.
Haymaker, like find a way to riff on all of those, I'd say.
All right. Okay. I'm gonna combine all of the. I'm gonna work on it right now. Let me ask you this question, and I'm gonna be working on it, man. So, um, how'd you get into pro wrestling? Where are you from, and how'd you get into pro wrestling, man?
All right, so to whoever finds this episode, I'm Droman. I am a Lebanese and ex-wrestling fan. Get into that later. And how I got into wrestling was I got home one day after school, got on the TV, was flipping around channels, and I noticed that our cable provider during my high school years had this movie on. It was this really interesting movie about this big Jack guy who was basically being a bodyguard to this really arrogant American king. And it was a
Hmm.
very strange movie, and I had to just stick around and watch it. And as the next hour and a half or so progressed, I kind of realized that this is something called professional wrestling. The guy was Dave Batista and was playing the bodyguard for the night to King Booker and the lovely Queen Sharmell. And I got hooked after that. And that was how I got into wrestling with mid 2000s WWE SmackDown.
Hey man, there's something about the big muscly bodies, the big characters, it was, if you look at like 2006 SmackDown, it was actually a pretty fun group of people, and there's a lot of good workers there then too. And you know, I love Batista. Batista's my idol. Big Dave, Tito Dave, representing for us the Filipinos, and he he really, a lot of people your age, they really did, and in your area nationally, because I have cousins from from Dubai, from Saudi, that and from the Philippines. I guess like all around at that time, WWE kind of like got on the air there or something. Is that right? Or
Well, I'd say no. I think for the Gulf and Saudi Arabia, I'm not really sure about Lebanon or things like that, but they had TV, wrestling TV from the 1980s. Like I've talked to people and the Emirates on at different times online, and they would just say things like, "Oh yeah, we had New Japan in the 1980s," and I got into Uro when I was watching, Tatsumi Fujinami and Antonio Inoki tapes that were making their way to Kuwait. And I think the WWF was pretty popular in the 1990s for a long time because they did the Kuwait Cup and they did private shows in Abu Dhabi and Qatar and things like that. And I think a lot of people know about Texas being very popular in Israel.
mm,
Them doing a tour of Israel, I think, in the 1980s. Jordan, very surprisingly, had a tour from Vancouver. NWA All Star Wrestling, Pacific All Star Wrestling in Vancouver did a tour. Came over with a ring, left the ring here, and it's still here in the old fort in the middle of the capital of Jordan, Amman, the citadel.
oh, that's
So
cool, man.
like everybody, so there's like a long history of people who watched wrestling in the Middle East. I think for my generation, when I talk to some of my cousins in the same 2 3 year gap, um, a lot of them remember John Cena, Randy Orton, Dave Batista, Undertaker, Triple H. Batista, I think, kind of slips through a bit because he left in 2010, whereas the other guys stuck around for a few extra years.
Oh, okay.
And he was always my favorite. So
Yeah. There's I know we talk about this because the person, and I know you got into wrestling later on, but the philosophy I always bring up on every show is of Jan Baba is the whole psychology of real mid event pro wrestling is giant bodies clashing against each other, and he's never wrong about that.
no, I can I no, it's an interesting thing because I'm a relatively tall guy,
Yeah.
so for me, I think it was always about the contrast. So you would either see someone like Rey Mysterio, who isn't really that short and he isn't really that skinny, but
Yeah.
in wrestling he stood out. At least in U.S. wrestling, he stood out for being skinnier, smaller, faster, lighter, more colorful, and it kind of worked because he was one of the few guys on that roster who was like that. And you get someone like Dave, who was this big giant bronze tan Superman, just
Mm.
effortlessly cool. And then you'd switch it over and you get someone who was dark and brooding and vaguely demonic like the Undertaker. And then you'd have, uh, the ultimate opportunist edge. So you had a lot of different uh, body types, a lot of different styles, a lot of different approaches to how to wrestle a match and how the character would wrestle in the match. So I think for me, those are the two formative things that I think about when I think about pro wrestling. Is one, it's gotta have bodies, and you gotta have jacked dudes in one way or another.
Yeah.
You can be jacked as Mysterio, you can be jacked as Dave Batista, but that's number one. Number two is that you have a very distinct character. I think that nobody else on that roster has, and
Yeah.
how that character influences your match and how you approach a match and what your storylines are, for a better lack of a better word,
Yeah, bro.
is I think what influenced me from that period of wrestling in WWE.
Um, and we talk about you talking about characters who stand out, and I know me and you, us, we always are big on what's going on in all Japan, and people sleep on it, but right now you got a lot of guys who are big characters in there. You got, of course, you got Kento Miyahara with his Hulk Hogan tribute act. Um, you got uh, you got the Aoyagi brothers with Yuma being more of a, I guess lately he's been more of a comedy wrestler than a serious wrestler. You got the Saitos, of
Uh,
course. The Saitos are like, those are big personalities, and chief among them, you also got Yuma Anzai, who's more or less a straight man compared to everybody else in the company, and it's a good contrast, honestly, because when you think about like the history of all Japan, you have these guys like you have Akira Taue, you have Kobashi, you have Kawada, and then you have the Mr. Stoic Misawa, right? And he's kind of, for me, he's kind of like a modern day Misawa, except for being extremely handsome. Not that Misawa was bad looking in the 80s, but like if you look at Yuma Anzai, he has like movie star good looks, you know?
yeah, no, he's a good looking guy, and he's built in a way where he doesn't like there are physiques that attract men,
Yeah,
impress men. There are physiques that attract women and impress women more. And I think he's got a nice balance in between the two. And you're not
yeah,
wrong. All Japan right now is a very character heavy, very comedic promotion.
yeah,
Sometimes for good and sometimes for worse. I think Yuma Aoyagi, he's doing the comedy gimmick now. But
yeah,
I think one of his big influences and one of the reasons why he got into wrestling was actually because he was a big fan of The Rock.
yeah. He
So you
does
can,
the people's
I think
elbow.
you can see a bit of that. Yeah, so I think you can see a bit of that like self-effacing nature that he picked up from classic post 2000s rock.
Yeah, he, and it's funny because it's like a lot of the selling and a lot of like the facial work is like Hollywood rock. That and the selling like because he when he sells he also like does big sales. He doesn't do like little oh it's I'm gonna take a bump here and there. He does like the big rock sell for when he takes like a lariat or a big drop kick, and it's pretty obvious where his influence comes from. Uh, Stark contrast to his brother, who's pretty he's pretty much like an Alex Shelley clone a bit for me when I watch what's his name? When I watch the other Aoyagi, little Aoyagi. now I'm
Atsuki.
Yeah, Atsuki. I was about to call him the younger Aoyagi and call Yuma elder Aoyagi, like some Yu Yu Hakusho stuff. But
Oh man, I've been watching that for the first time in the last few months. I've just been doing an episode a week
oh man,
to you know.
what arc are you on?
I just started the Dark Tournament.
Hell yeah! So, ladies and gentlemen, I know often on this podcast we go off on little tangents and we go off on another adventure, but let me tell you, Yu Yu Hakusho is possibly one of the best pro wrestling influence shows there is. Yu Yu is the ace of the show. He's the main character. He has all the cool moves. He dresses really cool, and like he has a girlfriend, and all of his friends are like there, kind of like just as support for him. And like if I look at it now and I look at it back then about when it was coming out, you kind of have like a whole like four pillars thing going there, because you got Yu Yu as like Amasawa, you got Kuwabara as as Dynamic T, you got Hiei as like Kawada because he's a small one, and you got Kurama as I guess Kurama would be Kobashi in that instance, but either way, I just actually Kurama could be Kurama could be Akira Taue, and then you know it's just I love this show, man, and there's something about the world building in it and like the character writing. Are you watching the dub or are you watching the regular one?
All right, so this is where I gain enemies. I'm a dub guy all the
Hell
way,
yeah. Okay.
just because. I, okay, just because I'm just gonna put a defense out there for whoever's listening to this, and I don't have any social media, so they can't attack me anyway. But I feel like as someone who grew up listening or watching to God, what's the I don't know what it's called in English, but in Arabic it's called Captain Thanet, and it
Captain
was
Planet.
Captain Tsubasa, I think in
Captain
English or
Tsubasa.
Japanese.
Yeah.
Yeah, I grew up watching it in Arabic, so
Okay.
I was used to a lot of cartoons being produced or dubbed through Syria, and then sort of sold and maybe broadcast all over the Middle East. So I got used to dubs that way, and then when I got older and I started watching U.S. cartoons, I watched it in English, and I got used to watching cartoons in English and things like
Yeah.
that. So by the time I came back around to actual anime in the late 2000s, I think I started with stuff like Black Lagoon and Naruto. I
Okay.
was just like, I know English. I'm practicing my English. I'm just going to watch it in English instead of Arabic or Japanese.
Yeah,
And I
man.
just went from there. So for me, I think it's become a little bit more interesting since I recognize some of the voice actors now from role to role. But I just enjoy listening to it in English, and I get the emotional stakes just fine. I get the emotional acting just fine. I think I get a lot of the more comedic aspects of animes when they're properly and well adapted in dub versus when they're in sub, just because of Japanese nuances and things like that.
Yeah. Cause like as a kid, I grew up with Yu Yu because we had Toonami afternoon block. So we had Yu Yu and we had Dragon Ball, and it was in English. And in order for us to get, and back then we didn't really have online, or you were online, but it was more like you kind of get tapes and dubs, kind of like the same thing that with wrestling with tape trading. Um,
You went to LimeWire, kid, were you?
nah, man.
You're a little bit older than that.
Yeah, I'm a little older because like I didn't download it. It was actually available on TV, and for something like Dragon Ball, I actually watched it in Spanish because the Spanish dub was done all the way through at the like so it hit for me differently, and that's kind of how I learned Spanish, similar to how you learn English. But I also love like the English dub of Dragon Ball, so it's like the Japanese one is great. It's great. Don't get me wrong, but like give me English Goku, give me English um you're an Urumeshi, like because I can't do Kurabara right now. My throat's not working. It's not working with me, but you know, like
Yeah, like you can just pick up the accents as well
yeah,
when you
yeah,
hear it in English. You can
yeah.
get the characters a little bit better.
Yeah. So you're about to start the Dark Tournament arc. I hope you're not spoiled on it because there's it's like a 30-year-old cartoon, so of course there's spoilers everywhere. But I'm not gonna build it up for you for
I
anything,
don't.
but it's probably one of my favorite tournament arcs there are in anime.
Yeah, I think a few people have said that to me over the last couple of months. I think
Yeah.
I got told that in the Discord I used to be in with you. But yeah, I'm excited for it. It's interesting. I just do it once a week. I get that sort of classic
Yeah.
sit down in front of the TV cartoon vibe. And I've been doing that for a few shows recently, and it's been fun. I just come home on the weekend. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna have 3 hours of me time. I'm just gonna watch these shows and just you know do
Yeah,
some
man.
things while I'm watching these shows.
It's hard for me to like sit there and binge now because I let the season of like one of the new animes that came out, Solo Leveling, right? I binged the first season all the way through, and then this new one, I've waited for it to finish, but I'm like, there was so many animes I didn't watch like this the last season. I didn't watch High Card season two, and I didn't watch Leveling season two. And I usually watch it as it's ongoing because it's hard for me to go back and binge everything all at once. So it is nice because so I'm now going back and just watching each episode back to back, per maybe 2 episodes a week. And like it's way more, I'm getting way more out of it than like kind of forgetting what's going on. Everything's getting to settling, right? It lets it breathe, which is often something we hear in pro wrestling about letting segments breathe, you know? Because like sometimes things happen back to back to back, and you forget what happened when it something was very important. Like
Is this the part where I voice my opinions on AEW?
Oh, if you want to, man, I was about to like talk about like, because if you look at the training arc, right, with when Yusuke and Kuwabara go to Genkai, right? Like Genkai just tells
Yeah.
Kuwabara just run and then just try to break this rock with this stick, right? But then she goes all in with Urameshi, and it's just like that's not fair. And like you never like really learn how like he learns how to control his spirit energy. He has a sword now, and then you know you'll find out later what the sword is.
Yeah, that was a bit strange. I have to be honest. I wasn't expecting a sword that could turn into a pole vault that could. I mean, it's a nice little contrast to the guns, I guess, that spirit guns that
Yeah,
Yusuke gets. But it has been a bit strange.
yeah, and then
Like I wasn't sure if that comes out of anything, or if it's a reference to something.
yeah, and then like he has that dragon arm, and Hiei is like he's not a full demon, so he gets augmented stuff on him. Like that third eye is not like his eye, but they kind of just like gloss over it. And then Kurama's pretty cool. I like his rose whip, rose whip lash. He kind of talks like Stewie, a little bit.
A
Like
little bit,
a
a
little
little
bit.
bit. Yeah, I don't like his animation for the Rose Whip. To be honest, it feels a bit cheap.
He's
They just
yeah. His build is actually supposed to be like appealing to the teenage girls at the time who love like feminine looks like that. Um, so, because he looks a lot like women characters that you would see at the time. Because I don't know if you know this, but the writer of um, the writer of Yu Yu Hakusho is actually married to the writer of Sailor Moon.
oh, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah,
That had to be that had to be the quietest marriage in history of Japan. Just
yeah,
just two mangaka killing it in separate rooms, trying to get their assignments done.
yeah, dude. And once you're finished with Yu Yu Hakusho, I recommend watching Hunter Cross Hunter. And honestly, the English dub is like is is just as quality as the Japanese one because now the dub is done like in the early in the tens, so it's all pretty good, man. Um,
I'll have, I'll have to think about that. I've heard people say that it's a better version of Naruto, and I
uh,
love Naruto, so I'm tempted to just not watch it on principle. Then
people bag on you guys for being Naruto fans, but I got some enjoyment out of it. Sure, I clipped out a lot of like Shippuden, but I watched that final arc where you know Sasuke controls that giant mecha thing, uh, and like the path of the six sages in Naruto. All that is cool to me. Like, and that final fight was awesome. Seeing
like, oh,
seeing Maito Guy do that, unlock all the gates and like be paralyzed for no reason. That was cool.
no, it's a good manga and it's a good anime. A lot of dumb stuff in it. I think there's just a lot of quirks and decisions
Yeah,
and things like that happened that were incredibly dumb. But like on
yeah,
the whole, I think it's one of the best of all time, and you know, earned every bit of success it got.
yeah. You and
So
again like everything that's in Naruto, up to Shippuden, even a little bit in Boruto. You got the main character. You got his allies, and of course, the main character is going to face some triumphs and tribulations, but on the end, he's going to come out on top and be book strong. And I wish we could, if you want to compare this to what's going on in pro wrestling in your mind, you can go ahead and link it up because you kind of teased it a little bit, so why not go for it, bro?
I mean, I'd rather do anything than anything else to discuss all elite wrestling, I guess.
Oh,
But
I don't really want to talk about that
I
either because I don't watch anymore. The only thing
yeah,
if I'm gonna be like I'll be honest with you, my audience. The only things I watch now are I watch what's on wrestling YouTube as documentaries. I watch New Japan, All Japan, Dragon Gate, CMLL. I watch I watch Zona 23 because I like hardcore wrestling. I watch Freedoms because I like violence. Um, I watch Big Japan because Japanese nationalism is hilarious to me, and Japanese nationalism tied up in a hardcore ultra-violent promotion is also very funny to me. Um, and like whenever I would see Mr. Droman post some like smaller show like a Kyushu Pro or what are the other ones you would post?
What's that?
Because you would post Kyushu Pro and other like smaller.
Oh yeah, so I would post Kyushu Pro. There was oh God, what was the other one? It was mostly Kyushu Pro, but there was a couple of smaller indie promotions. I
Wow.
think Osaka Pro. They have a
Oh,
monthly highlights episode on Bureau TV that I think Bert on Twitter, Robert on Twitter shares the link to every month.
yeah.
Really good stuff, really fun stuff. They've got some good young wrestlers. Last I watched, and they they do good work for a smaller indie promotion.
Because I did.
I watch some of the same stuff you do. Big
Yeah.
Japan, Dragon Gate, All Japan. I think especially with Big Japan this year, they've brought in a lot of younger wrestlers, a lot of
Yeah.
fresh foreign faces, and they're trying to do some things.
Yeah.
So all the
Because
power to them on that front.
Okabayashi just pretty much disappeared. Nomura left, even though he's a young guy, he left to do the tag stuff on the indies with he was already doing that, but he was doing that now mostly like in places like Glee and in All Japan with Fuminari Abe. I know in the Discord that you used to be in, they used to make fun of me for not watching wrestling, even though I watch all of the wrestling, and that's a fun joke. But because everybody just wants to have an opinion on what's going on in America, and in my opinion, if you just keep yourself to those boxes, you're gonna be disappointed, and that's what I did, and I kind of cut it out for myself, and it's like I'm finding more time for myself to enjoy myself, and I'm watching what I want to watch because often we see people or we hear people, and that's why I have a problem with what's going on in podcasts now is everybody wants to be a critic and everybody wants to have whatever, and then everybody complains about everything, and then everything is so like nobody wants to hear about people complaining, and that's why I like doing this because I like to talk about why I love pro wrestling. um, and a big part of what I love in pro wrestling is the variety and the selections that you can make, especially now
No,
with the
that's
internet.
true. No, you're not wrong. Like I was, I said this stuff about AEW earlier, but realistically, I haven't been
Yeah,
following the company full time on a week to week basis for years now, and I don't really notice much missing from my life. Like if I hear about a good match, or I still don't watch even if I hear about a good match. But I don't know. It just struck me as watching WrestleMania a few weeks ago, and I skipped through most of the card. I just watched two matches, and I liked those two matches, and I was fine with those two matches. That you know, we talk about AEW. People talk about AEW. They talk about WWE, TNA, Ring of Honor, whatever. And those are just so many hours a week that people
yeah.
put down about
It's a
watching those
waste of
shows.
time, man. It's a waste of time
And
to be so down on something that you don't like.
no, and then it's not even just the hours you spend watching it on TV. It's the hours you spend online. It's
Complaining.
the hours you talk about it with your friends, and it's like I feel like it's so easy to become maybe not
Cynical.
depressed, but like miserable or upset or
Cynical. That's the word.
unsatisfied with what you're getting. Yeah, even cynical. Like I feel like it's very easy to have that happens to you while you're watching Western wrestling on a weekly basis
Yeah.
and getting miserable slowly, and then just sort of it stops being this cathartic thing that you do for fun, and it
Yeah.
just becomes this. Oh, why are they doing this? Well, I wouldn't have done that. This isn't fun for me. I don't enjoy seeing this, and I think it's even more multiplied, magnified, if you will, when people who are on the TV shows, and this isn't everyone obviously, but sometimes you'll see them come out and get on Twitter and be like, "Oh, well, if you didn't like it, and go to
Yeah.
hell," or "You're just a hater," or "You're just from outside the club."
Yeah.
And I just think about those things. Like, well, even if I wasn't the person like paying to watch a show live or come to the events or pay for a subscription, and I'm not, I consider myself a Ghost fan, and we can talk about that later. Like, nothing you're saying is gonna make someone more interested in what you're doing. Like, Taylor Swift doesn't come out and say, "If you don't like my music, go to hell." She
Yeah.
creates her fan base and she riles up her fan base, and she gives her fan base what she wants. She doesn't go out and say, "Well, you're just a fucking basement dwelling geek eating fried
Yeah.
chicken nuggets or whatever."
Yeah,
Like,
man.
and I think that sense of negativity and maybe superiority in U.S. wrestling is so unique. Like, you never see luchadors come out in public and say that. Well,
If
besides Conan,
yeah,
and
if you see,
you never see that in Japan
yeah,
either. Like, much more positive about it.
when the new catchphrase for CML is 100% Mexican, right? That's the new phrase they're putting
Yeah,
on all the branding because WWE is coming in. But that's more of a national pride sort of thing. You don't really hear them go like on, you don't like see Volador or Mystico come on and like bury AAA as like, you know, as like low rent kind of thing. Um, you don't see that. You do see, and I think like wrestlers in America, they because the show tries to appeal to everybody, it appeals to nobody. Like that's how I feel. Cause like when you if it if you're trying to put pro wrestling in a box and you're trying to present pro wrestling as so many different things, and a lot of what happened with what these companies is they share the same roster of people, right? There's pretty much the same whatever works between each other, and then the show has the same kind of writers, the same agents, and so everything for me personally, it all just feels the same. Sure, in AEW they'll do like different moves and all that stuff, but match structure is still the fucking same as WWE. Hit a couple spots, go to commercial, wait a couple bit, hit more spots, hit your signature, hit your finish, pose to the camera, smile, next segment. It's like there's nothing about the American style of pro wrestling that really appeals to me personally as a fan. And I'm happy I have the choice to like watch a New Japan, a All Japan, a Dragon Gate, CMLL. Even like, you go like to somewhere like watch you'll go on you go on YouTube and you can watch something like from Africa, like Nigeria Pro Wrestling, or you watch some German stuff like from WXW and like All Japan pretty much puts like a semi-clip version of their full shows on their YouTube, like 2 or 3 days afterwards. So you can actually be keeping up with All Japan. Um, that's how I've been keeping up with All Japan. Spoiler alert, yeah, I don't watch the whole shows all the time. Sometimes when they're in smaller arenas, I don't watch them. But the All Japan will post the show on their YouTube, like in a digest mode, and show all the good parts of the match, including the finish. And that's how I kind of follow it. And me being an ADHD person, that works for me.
that's interesting because I've been busy checking them out on the deep Russian sites for years now, and nobody's mentioned this to me at all that they had it on the YouTube
Oh
because I
yeah,
don't
dude.
follow any channels.
Yeah,
I don't
the
follow any wrestling on
the All Japan YouTube
YouTube.
is basically the show,
Yeah.
like the weekly shows they have, and it goes all the way back for the
Okay.
last 5 years now. So it's pretty fun. That's how I've been watching All Japan, even though, and I know people have been going like on those sites like the VKs and all those other like watch wrestling, but they don't have all the shows. YouTube has all the shows, and it's legal and it's free, and you're not gonna risk getting malware on your computer or phone with it. So just giving you that heads up. I'll
Yeah.
send you the channel. I'll put the link in the description.
Uh,
Just I
no,
guess
no,
I'm
no, no. You don't gotta. You don't gotta share it to me. Um, I've touched on this a couple times, but I'm just taking a break from wrestling at the moment.
Oh,
But it's good to know that it's on the YouTube, so I
yeah,
can catch up if and
yeah,
when I come back.
yeah. You don't have to. You don't have to. It's there all the time. And you say you're not
Yeah, yeah.
when or if you come back. So I have this theory, okay? Because I know you love pro wrestling. You love what pro wrestling that you love, right? And a lot of the times, people always kind of like say that lapsed fans are not fans anymore of the product, right? That might be true in the sense like they're not a fan of the current product of what's being presented to them, and they're not in the mood to watch it. Kind of like I'm not really in the mood to watch what's on thing. We just had like one of those New Japan shows that go to Ontario. I usually go to them, and this time I decided, nah, I'm good, because sometimes like sometimes you need a break, and sometimes you just need to like reevaluate, and sometimes you just need to say like, what am I really doing here? Because like I remember like a couple months back, my wife said, all you do is watch wrestling. All you have on is wrestling. I was like, Monday you got Netflix, and then you got Max, so you got like you got the shows, right? And then like, I'd have a Japanese show on the weekend because I'm not gonna watch those live. So of course she'd be like annoyed that I'm kind of like monopolizing the TV with pro wrestling. And like I sit back and I say like, but what am I getting out of it? What am I enjoying this? And you saw how I posted, right? I posted, I'd be like disappointed. I'd be making fun of like, oh, this was sucked. Oh, look at this stupid shitty booking. And I'm like, I'm gonna thank him right now. Okay, I'm gonna thank you, Tail, for giving me a timeout again because it helped me reevaluate what my goals and what my focus should be and what what am I doing with myself. And yeah, man, thank you for the timeout. It's like I'm able to like just decompress from being in all of that bullshit and like just kind of like focus on what I like to do. And I've been able to like have all these conversations with these people, and it kind of like reignited kind of my love for pro wrestling without me having to go and watch what's currently on screen. And my question for you, man, is like, how did you fall out of love with pro wrestling?
So, oddly enough, I think this is a two-parter. I think the first thing is I had fallen out of pro wrestling maybe in 2023, I want to say. I think I had left uh, the VOW Discord for being a dumbass. And I think I had been out of wrestling for 4 months, maybe 5 months, 6 months,
Yeah,
before a mutual friend of ours started harassing me to join another Discord, the Dockcord, as it was known at the time.
I want to say it
And
was me bugging him to bring you there. Because
well, I
Habibi,
mean, he could be, yeah.
Habibi, I missed you. I missed talking to you.
I was, I missed everyone. I missed everyone, but
Yeah,
I was just frustrated with the AEW at that time, and All Japan was going through a lull,
yeah.
and I was like, I'm just gonna take a break. And then he just started nagging me, and I was like, all right, sure. I popped in, and there was a lot of people from EOW Core that I'd been talking to and I'd been on good terms with. And I was like, okay, well, even if we're not talking about wrestling, we can at least talk about other things. And we talked about video games, we talked about tabletop, and I even got to play my first
D&D.
tabletop game, thanks to Tail. So shout out to Tail for that.
Yeah, man.
And it felt like I was enjoying wrestling as a side act to other things.
Okay.
And we were having conversations and we were having things to talk about that weren't related to wrestling. And I wasn't that happy with wrestling, but I was still in the wrestling bubble, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think just by virtue of being in that Discord, I was being exposed to a lot of AEW, a lot of New Japan, a lot of
I guess
promotions
so,
that I
yeah.
either wasn't really a big fan of or I wasn't enjoying the product of. And I think looking back at it over the last few weeks, I've just been getting more and more cynical, sarcastic, mean-spirited,
Yeah.
dissatisfied, bitter, whatever whatever you want to call it, with elite. First of all, All Japan Pro Wrestling, my favorite promotion historically. Uh, I was enjoying some things in Noah, but I was also getting frustrated with Noah for being Noah. And I had these long-standing resentments with New Japan and AEW, much more AEW than New Japan. And shout out to Jag. I will say this: Jag would get annoyed and get upset with me every time I said that I didn't like MJF. I still don't like MJF. I don't like the power that he has in that promotion. I don't like his idea for how he tells the story. I don't like his idea for how he presents himself. I don't think that he does anything positive on screen for other talents. But
I also don't like
it
his
was
casual
pissing Jag
racism.
off. It was his what?
Personally, I don't like his casual racism.
Oh yeah, no, that too, and the misogyny.
Oh,
And you know, I think Jag lost his mind at one point, and he was like, "You just people. I don't want people to keep bringing him up. If you're not happy about him, don't have to watch him." And I was annoyed with Jag for that for a little bit. But at the end of the day, he's right. Who is
he's right.
MJF in this
He was
world?
right.
And who is he for me to give a shit about? And I thought about it. I was like, do I like AEW enough to keep watching it, even though MJF is on the screen at least once a week? I was like, no. And I was like, okay. And then I thought about everything else that I've been watching, and I was like, I'm not that happy with All Japan. I'm not that happy with Noah. I have people dragging it on me semi-frequently, semi-regularly, but the style isn't just quite what I want, and there is that little bit of, you might call it DDTism, you might call it WWEism, where people play to the crowd, and they're not just playing their character, and it can be a nitpick for some people, but for me, it just takes me out of the match. The moment I feel that you're taking the time out to entertain the crowd instead of wrestling the match and to entertain them through the wrestling.
Hell yeah. I got you, man. I got you back. Because
Those two things combined, and I wasn't happy with it, and I was just like, man, I just need one excuse to get away, and the minute I find that excuse, I'm just gonna stop watching wrestling, and then I got that excuse. I got that impetus to say, "Fuck it, I'm done. I'm gonna go back to being I'm gonna be a Ghost fan, a fan who has never been to a live event, a fan who's never paid for a pay per view, a fan who's never paid for a piece of merchandise, which I've been all my life. I've never bought a wrestling merch. I've never paid for a pay per view. I only ever paid for 2 subscriptions: All Japan TV and New Japan World.
okay.
And I've never been to a wrestling event live, so I've always considered myself a Ghost fan, someone who's not really on the radar, who doesn't really count towards the demo. But it gives a sense of freedom that I could just walk away whenever I want and pop out, and I'm just like, okay, I'll do something else
Hey, man.
three or 4 times a week
That
instead of watching wrestling.
look, man, being able to step away from having to force yourself to watch it is pretty damn freeing. And I don't know how people who do these podcasts where they have to review stuff weekly and talk about this every week in the sense of like what's going on, what's going to happen, what's business like. I respect people who can do that, right? I respect it because I could never do that. I could never stay with something that I dislike so much that I'm spending like maybe 20 minutes a week burying it on my show and saying like, and then just keep getting frequently bombarded with like hate mail from all the people who want to defend the show, whether it's WWE defenders or AEW defenders. They're the same. Am I right on that? They're the
Yeah,
same.
no,
Yeah,
you're not wrong, and I have to like even give an open apology to podcasters who become miserable and become upset and have to deal with that stuff, because it's like I feel like we feel a fraction of that just by being in a Discord and
yeah,
being online. And then when you reduce it down to 1 or 2 people, or even just 3 people on a podcast every week for an hour or 2 hours, it feels like it's even more of an echo chamber. It feels like it's even more of a silo to be
yeah.
in, to talk in and be miserable in. And I think about that, and I feel like, wow, you guys really make yourselves miserable
by forcing
in
it
a way
to
that's
do
not entirely worth it. Yeah,
yeah, because like
like at themselves for wrestling, and then it's like, why? You could just step back and enjoy it differently, or not enjoy it at all.
yeah,
Just be happy that you're not being miserable.
I feel like if Brian Alvarez did a podcast, he only did his because I love his cryptids podcast, his conspiracy theory podcast, because I love that shit. And when he's on that show, he has like a breath of life inside of him that I don't see him at all because he's there talking about this stuff mouth agape with Dave, and it's just like he keeps trying to corral Dave, and you hear him right, and you see those videos posted online, and he just looks like so miserable. And then like I don't care. This is not gonna. I'm not gonna make money with this. I'm not making friends with this. Like if I go and I like
You're
listen.
definitely not making friends with this.
Oh yeah, yeah. If I listen to like say the flagship, right, versus Mike and JD, Mike and JD are so positive of like all of their TNA coverage, right? Because they like TNA, they want it to succeed, right? But when I listen
Yeah,
to the flagship, it's like they're so they want AEW to be something that it was never going to be. They always shit on WWE for what it's doing. They shit on TNA. They shit on New Japan for not being what they wanted to be. And it's just like, yo, I stopped listening 2 years ago because of that. And I know they kicked me out of their Discord, but I have other Discords. I have many other Discords. Um, and I want to thank all you guys in all the different Discords who are listening to me right now because without you, this wouldn't be possible. Um, I thank you guys so much. And like you, Droman, right? You had left our personal Discord because like you fell out and you felt like you were being stuck and being bombarded and being I mean technically you didn't have to
I mean,
look at you
I mean,
didn't
not
have to
just
look. You could have just closed your eyes, turned off the computer.
yeah.
But like you made a conscious decision to just step away and step back. The same one you made in 2023 because you were not satisfied with what you were watching. So what's the point of being there? And I'm gonna tell you, brother, right now, I'm happy you friended me, cause otherwise I don't know how I would have like been talking to you right now. And like there's something
I don't.
there's something about the connections we make, right? Even though like you fall off on in this side, right, the pro wrestling side, I still feel like because we were having this conversation, I didn't record it. I should have recorded it. About like you were like you were like talking about fantasy booking, which I know is something that you are passionate about. Like when it comes to like, I'm not sure if you're playing Journey of Wrestling or Extreme Warfare Revenge. There's something about being able to craft your own storylines, build your own guys, see like whatever is going on and seeing whatever happens with that in a game like Journey of Wrestling or Extreme Warfare Revenge, Total Extreme Warfare. There's something about that where, or like I love the promoter mode in Fire Pro Wrestling World because you get to do all of that stuff, including like merchandise and all that stuff. So like there's something about that that is satisfying and I know it's not you personally watching wrestling, but it is a way of experiencing the kind of like the fandom and playing through a game that's like based on wrestling game. And I think you were telling me the other day that you wrote a preview for someone else's fantasy booking.
Yeah, like I mean, first of all, shout out to Punish Badoo for supporting Journey of Wrestling and trying to get me into it. And I'm gonna say shout out to Jack for actually buying me the game. Might have been him, it might have been Badoof. But I I enjoy creativity in wrestling. I enjoy stark contrasts. I enjoy two opposing forces. You know, whether it was Batista versus The Undertaker or Batista
Yeah.
versus the Great Khali or John Cena versus Umaga.
Oh, that's one of
The
my favorite
more cleanly
matches.
defined, yeah, like the more clearly defined the two characters are in the ring, the two wrestlers are in the ring, the more interested I am, because I want to see how they're gonna engage or operate or
Yeah.
work out. And in the case of the preview that you mentioned, like this guy playing, Total Extreme Wrestling 9, he's running this promotion that can be best described as Noah if it was good. And he's just been writing, these updates for every month of the year, and he's doing it tour by tour. And I'm just, voting. I'm like, oh, I predict this guy's gonna win. I predict that guy's gonna win. Previews like you would do for an actual wrestling show.
Yeah.
And he like last month or the month before, he picks a guy out. And he's like, I'm gonna put this wrestler versus the world champion, and that's gonna be the main event for the next month. And I just looked at it, and I just was thinking about the 9 months or the 10 months he'd written out so far, and he was just describing this character as this big bruising heavyweight, Avalanche Takano, this guy who is just devastation in the ring. He's one of the best up and coming younger wrestlers. He's wild, he's energetic. And in my head, I flashed back to maybe a dozen wrestlers of that same description. You can think of a Hiroki Goto, who is just all super finishers. You can think of a Togi Makabe, a Tomohiro Ishii, Miro in WWE,
Jiro
Rusev,
Kuroshiro, Japan.
Toa Leona when he first debuted in ROH and he was jacked as fuck. The Saito Bros, Yoshiki Inamura, Masa Kitamiya, all of these wild guys.
Yeah, Leona Fujinami.
Yeah, and exactly. And he's going up against the champion. He's going up against this Kazuchika Okada, this Go Shiozaki type.
Yeah.
He's all about technical wrestling, and he's a great grappler, and he's the champion. He's been the champion for nearly 9 defenses. And I could just visualize that match in my head because I'd seen other matches like it, whether it was Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Togi Makabe, or if it was Kento Miyahara versus Shuji Ishikawa. And I was just seeing it in my head. I was like, okay, well, this is how that match would probably go. And I was just putting in the predictions, and I was like, well, the champ's going to win. Masaru Ogaki is definitely going to win. He's definitely going to beat Avalanche Takano. It's not his time. It shouldn't be his time. Business-wise, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
If this was a real promotion. But in my head, I'm just like, but we get sports upsets all the time in professional wrestling. He could very well win this match, beat the champ, and then in the next 2 or 3 title defenses, drop it because of all his issues as a professional wrestler. He's not fully rounded. He's too wild. He doesn't have a game plan. He might blow himself up. And because he's lost his cardio push, he's going to be too tired to fend off a submission. And I said that to the guy. I was like, man, I've just got to say this to you. I think he shouldn't win. This makes sense, but I think he should win at the same time. And I just sat down and I started writing sort of a New Japan World style preview of, hey, this guy could do this guy could do that. And I came and I went through the database of the game and I picked 2 names of former world champions to argue the 2 different points. And my guy lost. My pick lost, as he should have. But even after he lost, I still had that creative buzz in my head. And I went back and I wrote a follow-up to the first preview that I did, where the guy who picked the champion to win ran into the other guy backstage and just took the piss and made fun of him. And it felt honest and real in a way that I don't think would normally see in a lot of shows these days. It felt like a sporting moment. 2 guys are betting on the winner. One guy loses. His friend's making fun of him for it. When's the last time you saw something like that in a professional wrestling context? It wasn't about a divorce, or if it wasn't about a magical item, someone wasn't turning evil. Wasn't about someone's childhood on Long Island. It's just one guy meets the second guy. The color is all on the outside between these veterans that you know and respect. And the humor is just on the circumstances and the reality of the situation. Like, to me, I often talk to you and I talk to other people about sporting wrestling and wrestling as a sport. And people think about that and they think, oh, it's got to be boring. It's got to be grapple fucking and things like that. But I think no, like, sports can be funny. Sports can be fun.
Yeah, that's why we watch sports.
Be real. Yeah, and it can be real in a way that wrestling almost never is these days. Everyone bumps the same. Everyone works the same.
Yeah.
Everyone falls to the ground, and someone runs over them to go across the other side of the ropes, hit their back on the ropes, come back out. Someone's going to stand up. There's going to be a drop down tackle or something.
Yeah. And
There's
like
just
I
too
was
much
saying,
formula in
yeah.
wrestling.
Like I was saying earlier,
There's
everybody
just
goes to
too
a commercial the same way. Someone hits a dive to the outside. We're rolling.
I want
It's
to kill myself every time I see someone do a dive.
it used to be
It's
it used to be in WCW. We watch these planches, or even in WWE back in the day, right? Where Mysterio does a springboard to
yeah.
the outside. Okay, now he throws the guy back in and does the mother moves. Now you see a guy do a tope or whatever to the outside. We're coming back, folks. Don't miss the action. And like that's not usually how they used to go to commercial back in the day. They used to go to commercial based on like a guy getting put in a headlock and like
Yeah, hope spots. Like I am so sick of watching people do dives out of the ring
because it never leads
as a
anywhere.
reset for a match. A reset for a match. Like I see it in New Japan, I see it in TNA, I see it in AEW, I see it in WWE. Guys are gonna go dive out and they're gonna reset the match, whether it's for
Yeah.
a commercial or not. They're just gonna take a break and then they're gonna get back up and they're just gonna keep wrestling. And I'm like,
When
could
I
have just had a shorter match.
when I see
Like,
Neon do like that rampway dive, double bounce into a moonsault, I'm like that plays into the finish of his match. That's like the mid move. That's like the match. That's the move that sets up his finish. But like when I
yeah,
see someone do that, like yeah, you're right. Even in New Japan, someone does like a side moonsault. They just like wait around and then just walk around for a little bit and just like kind of settle and then they get their bearings back in the ring. It just kind of like resets the match and like, God. But you
and
know, like
it just winds me up.
what we were talking about earlier, man. Like the you were getting when I'm talking to you and I'm hearing you talk like with this spark in your voice over a match that's not happening, but there's a spark in your voice because you're like excited about it and like there's something that reminds you of how it's wrestling that you want it to be like whether when it was good or All Japan when it was good because I really love the New Japan era when it's like Shuji Ishikawa, Zeus, and like Kento all fighting for that top spot. That was peak All Japan in the tens for me. Um, Even like when Suwama would do a little bit here and there, but like when you have that sporting kind of wrestling where like you could say like, oh yeah, this is the racehorse I'm backing, right? It's pretty cool honestly because the last time I could really remember that kind of match is John Cena versus Daniel Bryan for the world title. Like
And
there
it
was
was such a
nothing.
style difference. Yeah.
What's that?
And it was such a style difference. You had this smaller guy who could kick and grapple versus the big heavyweight who wanted to show that he could meet him on his own terms.
Yeah, and the match was excellent. I was there live for it. It was an excellent match, and like and I try to think about like because when you guys said that, I was like, what's the last match? Could it have been like Tanahashi and Okada? I guess it could have been for the last time in the dome. None of the Kenny Omega Okada had like that kind of feeling to it because it just felt like we're waiting for the Omega win, and then like Omega's over here cutting all these goofy promos, calling the Japanese lazy, and like people are saying, "Oh no, he's such a good guy. Look at him. He's in a gay relationship that makes him the good guy." And I'm like, he's doing like evil foreign heel shtick here, and nobody's like paying attention to that because they're only watching what's on BTE. They're not watching the actual YouTube channel that New Japan has posting his promos. But I digress.
I wonder how he feels about that sometimes. Like, does he feel like he's just uncorked a beast that he can't control and it's undermined his ability to tell stories at all? Or is it like, well, whatever works, works?
Because you know, a lot of fans. No, I'm gonna say this. A lot of fans put their head canon for wrestlers they love to explain their love for that and to explain away their booking. Like we see that nowadays with the Hangman fans, but at least the Hangman fans are honest about their fandom. Shout out to you, Nejma, of like they're a fan of him because of how hot he is. That's why we call, and I think Cornette termed out blowjob wrestlers, right? That was the term.
Yeah, blowjob wrestlers were wrestlers who drew in female fans drew in the male fans because they
Yeah.
were there, and whatever a girl's gonna be, a guy's gonna follow. Like, kind of sexist, but it makes sense in terms of event psychology, I guess.
Shout out to you, Nejma. Habibti.
You get, you should say "أختي رجمة," I think.
What's that?
It's a bit. So you can't. So this is like an Arab thing, but
Yeah.
you don't normally say "habibti" to someone who you're not related to.
Oh, okay. So what do I say?
Yani you just say their name, or صديقتنا.
Sadiq. Ah, okay.
صديقتنا, our friend,
Sadiq.
صديقتنا.
Our friend. Shout out
Yeah,
to you,
yeah,
Star Girl.
but no, yeah. Actually, it's Stargirl for her name, but no, yeah, like you're right, and it's that's another thing. Like the Hangman wrestlers, or I guess the Kenny Omega wrestlers in some cases. The Hangman fans or the Kenny Omega fans. Uh, you see it all the time, I think, with the women's wrestlers, especially in WWE,
Yeah.
where they attract that different kind of audience. And you can say what you want about it, but it's a different aspect of pro wrestling that not everybody buys, and it helps create a contrast with everything else. Like you talked about watching podcasts and following shows on YouTube and things like that.
Yeah.
One thing I would actually recommend to you maybe is I've been watching this channel called The Normies, and they've got three of their female members discovering women's pro wrestling,
Oh, okay.
and
Interesting.
like the guys who are on the channel with them, they also on the channel. They're all WWE people, so they're
Yeah.
biased towards WWE for the most part. But it is really interesting to watch. These three women. One of them who is Jordanian Arab. The other two are Indian American and Czech American, I think.
Mm.
Shout out to Beth Kedge. And one of the girl knows wrestling. The other two girls don't really know wrestling, and they're just watching women's wrestling, and they're watching a lot of Dominic Mysterio wrestling,
Yeah.
and it's interesting to see how they are reacting to spots and how they are reacting to matches, and like they just recently, I think, watched the Charlotte Flair Tiffany match from WrestleMania,
Oh.
and it was interesting to see them watch that match and not see the stiffness until the end, and then they were all like, "Oh, she chipped her tooth," and I was like, "Yeah, you didn't notice anything else," and it's like interesting to see that. And then they watched the Io, Bianca, and Rhea match, and they just spent it drooling over Bianca's abs,
I
and
mean,
they're
brother.
all horny for Rhea, and then they said some weird shit about Io, but like it's interesting when you see someone who doesn't know anything about wrestling watch wrestling for the first time
Yeah.
and feel something different about pro wrestling, and then it makes you think like, well, they're viewing it like that, and they have a much more innocent view of things, and that makes it more interesting to me. Like when people talk about Lucha Underground, for example, and how fun that first season or the first two seasons were,
Yeah.
it wasn't because it was WWE, it wasn't because it was New Japan, it wasn't because it was DDT. It was its own thing, and because it was unique, it created a response.
Yeah,
And I
man.
think we missed that. And I think that's the same thing with Hangman's female audience. I think that's the same thing with Kenny's gay audience. I don't know what we would call it really, but yeah, like it's weird, and it undermines other stories, but sometimes it seems to work. And I think part of the frustration comes from when it works and something else does it. Is that why is this working? Why is the other thing working?
Yeah.
And I think that just creates a cycle of.
Can I tell you how I watch pro wrestling and how I've always watched pro wrestling? Because, a lot of people, a lot of people will term me as contentious. Not you. I know. I know we kind of like have the same kind of brainwave pattern of how I consume wrestling.
Sorry about that. Sorry, I hit the mute button. What did I miss?
Oh, nothing, nothing. So
Pop that second.
basically, I was just saying like so how I consume wrestling is I watch it like how I would watch an anime, right? Or like how I would watch any TV show. Because to me, my dad always made sure to say, "Hey, son, this fake bullshit, it's just a TV show. It's not real, so don't try to copy them because you'll get hurt, right?" And like
Yeah, my dad was the same.
I know a lot of people say like, "Oh, so you had the magic ruined for you at a young age." I'm like, "No, why? Am I supposed like if I watch like Commando, right? Arnold Schwarzenegger is
Yeah.
not killing like 30 people for real, right? If I watch like Rumble in the Bronx, Jackie Chan's fighting off like 10 guys at one time, doing ladder spots, doing a moonsault here and there. Is that a real fight or is that just a choreographed? That's a choreographed fight, right? And like what I'm doing is I'm
Yeah.
hoping that Jackie comes out on top and just in this like little street fight. Same thing like when I watch pro wrestling, I'm watching to see like if this one person can overcome the other. And you were kind of harping on that a little bit about like how sometimes the wrestlers pay to the fans too much. And like to me, what I need in a wrestler is I need to believe that you're trying to win. And I don't care what the style is. Like if it's a comedy wrestling match, like Stalker Ishikawa, he was very charismatic, but his style was he used these distractions to try to win. He never like did anything where it didn't make sense for him to do it in the sense like, oh, he's trying everything to throw everything at this guy to win. Whereas like, you know, you get the that spot in a match where guys clap, stomp to do the plancha. I know you love that. And like, or a guy like does a big move, looks around, and then does another big move, and the fans chant one more time, so he does it again. And like, I'm like, what are you doing? Or like when the guy kicks out of the move and the guy like sits up and stares at his hands and starts talking to himself and being frustrated. What happened to like a guy kicks out, you get up and you just punch him in the mouth or stomp him again? What happened to that? And like
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
what a lot of what I think is a problem. I don't want to say that. Yeah, I'll say it. Fuck it. Well, what is a problem with pro wrestling is a lot of people are just want to get their shit in, and like it kind of takes away from what I feel is the point of the match. And you know who doesn't do that? Dominic Guerrero.
I
He,
haven't watched enough matches recently to make that statement, to make
oh,
a
yeah.
disagreement or an agreement with you.
And I know I said
But
Dominic Guerrero, but I said that on purpose. Because he goes out there, he's
oh, you
shit.
said Guerrero.
Yeah. He,
I completely missed it.
he's just shitty, right? But that doesn't matter. How much heat does this kid get? He's probably the most hated guy in pro wrestling. And none of his matches based on like him trying to like show off or anything like that. It's all just him trying to win at any cost. And when it's wrestlers like that, like him, Toriano, or even well, no, Dan Chocodino doesn't wrestle to win. Dan Chocodino wrestles to get his rocks off. But yeah, you get the point. It's just like these guys are wrestling their style and they don't care about anybody else. They just want to do their match and they're just doing their stuff. And it's not a get your shit in for situation. This is how they wrestle, and that gets their characters across. And to me, your wrestling character should match your wrestling style. And
No, 100%. Like, yeah, like I haven't watched enough Dominic Guerrero matches, if you will,
I'm putting him over.
to make that statement.
Yeah,
No,
Dominic
yeah. I
Guerrero,
mean,
fourth generation.
if the old Discord heard you right now, they'd be losing their goddamn minds. But no, I mean, you're right. Like, I, I said this. I've said this to you a lot in text. I think.
Yeah,
But I just prefer shorter matches. I prefer
hell yeah.
tighter matches. Uh, more character-driven matches. Like one of the reasons why I used to love, and I still love, I guess. Well, no, I used to love. Let's say that Masaki Tamiya was because
Yeah,
he was just a big, beefy dumb boy. I would always say I want Masakita Miya to be the GHC heavyweight champion because I believed in him. I could see him, and I would be like, "Fuck, yes, let's go." And people have always dogged on Kazuyuki Fujita,
Yeah.
and I wrestle with Kazuyuki Fujita every time I see him wrestle. But one thing you can never not say about Kazuyuki Fujita is that he does not know his own character. He does not know what he does in the ring. It could be
He's a
completely
dumb
shit.
caveman.
He could be burning the fuck out of a good wrestler who should be getting pushed to Noah, but he's 100% Kazuyuki Fujita every time he's out there. And that's what you're going to get. You might hate it, but it's consistent and it's real enough.
Yeah. That's the same way I feel about Evil. You know this. Evil's my favorite wrestler because he does not give a shit. He does what he wants to do. He goes against the grain. He knows that he can have like a really good match. He does. He has a good straight up match in Glee. Then the next 2 days has like one of the most run and filled matches in New Japan, and he's smiling the whole time. It, and that's what I love about Evil.
Fascinating how much. Is it not fascinating how much wrestlers from New Japan go to other promotions and have good matches, and then they come back to New Japan and they stink it the fuck out?
On purpose. And people say
It's
poor
insane to
show,
me.
right? People say poor show, right? Poor show.
Yeah.
Why is he doing this? He had so much potential, but like he still showed that in Glee, and then he goes to New Japan and he dogs it on purpose. Not because he's not gonna get pushed, because he got pushed. He got the title, and he wins. He wins more often than he loses. So like it's not for a lack of trying. This is what he is, and like I also like look at somebody like Ren Narita. He could do technical wrestling. He's good at technical wrestling. But I think he's way more entertaining now as a jackass who cheats and hits people with a wooden plank and just is. Oh man, I love how much of a jerk he is. Because I myself find myself like as somebody who loves to irritate and cajole and to make myself laugh. And it feels like these wrestlers are making fun for themselves.
Doc, you don't like to irritate people. You don't enjoy provoking people. What are you talking about?
You're right. I
You're an
know.
angel.
You're right. Um, well, most people do say that. Actually, most people do say I'm like a really nice guy. I'm, and like I do. I always check in on my friends. When someone is going through something, I will always check on them.
You do. You always ask how people are doing, and you try to relate and try to share things.
like what I like to do with this is I like to show because you're this guy from Jordan, right? I'm not to dox you. I could bleep that out later. You're a
I
guy.
mean, Jordan, Lebanon. My
Yeah.
ancestors came from Yemen at some point in history. Uh, I've been every stretch of faith and non-faith there
Yeah.
is.
So
Cares.
yeah, and like I'm just this dope from Southern California. Um, this Filipino American guy and this Jordanian guy, this Arab man. I don't know if I could call you Arab.
I
Oh,
am Arab.
okay.
No, no, I am Arab.
So this Arab man and this American are able to talk to each other based on a shared love, not just of Naruto. I just found out that you like Naruto right now, actually. Not just of Yu Yu Hakusho, not just of big butts, not just of like cute fluffy dogs, because I know you like my cute dogs.
I love your dogs. I love your dogs, Doc.
I know. You told me you want to kiss them on the head.
Oh, they're so adorable.
Oh.
So adorable. Did I send you that video of the wild dogs in my area
Yeah, yeah,
recently or no?
yeah.
Man, they are so hungry and starved and timid, and I wish I could just feed them, but there's like so goddamn many of them. That's not even the only pack,
Oh
and
man,
we have like one shelter in all of Jordan. And
bro.
my cousin told me about it, and it's like They barely have space for 30 dogs.
Yeah, man. What you need is to convince some handsome white men to go to Jordan and open up a rescue. That's
Why? Why white men?
you know why.
I would have assumed white women love dogs more.
Oh yeah, white women love dogs too, but with white men come white women. No, with white men come all types of women. So you have like the hot white guy, or because you can have the white girls who go to like they go to places like Sri Lanka, they go to India, they go to like Bali and Indonesia, and like they open up these dog
Yeah, come
rescues,
to
right?
come. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I
they
assume I don't know what your TikTok feed's like.
oh yeah, so like I watch a lot of the Dodo on YouTube, and it's like all these feel good stories about these rescues and rehabbing dogs, and you know what? You've seen Rocco. You saw how it started and how he's going, and it's very heartening to see somebody just recover from that, and like you see like a spark in life again in them. And like that's why I love watching
Genuinely,
what's up?
genuinely, like I could see it. I could see it in the photos. His eyes, just how much happier he is since you've had him.
Yeah, it's just like you see this spark in a dog, and you see like and like when he goes walks around with Blueberry, it's just like they're just best friends, and Blueberry is like going back to like when he was a puppy and just like being excited and like you see them with their companions because these animals, they're pack animals. Well, you see it in person. You saw they run in a pack and they all try to like they're there for support. And I feel like
Yeah,
um, dogs are at their best when they can have that support. Um, but yeah, man, and also that applies to like us as wrestling fans because I could call you the stray the stray pit bull, you know, and like I'm like a stone chihuahua just coming up to you and saying, "Hey, buddy, let's talk, let's hang out." Because I know you're out in Jordan by yourself. You're saying you're a Ghost fan. You're saying like you never went to like a event, even when you went to school like in London, right, or something like that.
I I spent like 5 years studying in the UK for university, doing my undergrad, and my postgrad,
So
and I was never more than an hour away from a pro wrestling chaos show in Bristol.
yeah,
And when I was close to South Wales, and I was close to like a few places where some really good British wrestlers were wrestling on a regular basis.
so why didn't
And
you
I
want to
would
go
just
to the
every time
show?
I would just it's so surreal, but I just didn't want to go. Like the first, so I was in the. It's especially weird because I was in the UK when Brit Rest was actually good or
Yeah,
allegedly good
yeah,
between 2010 and 2016,
yeah,
and I would just and I like it took me until 2014 maybe 15 to realize that there was wrestling shows around, and I
yeah,
would just look up shows and I'd be like, okay, there's Pro Wrestling Chaos. I'd have to go get the bus or a train, and then I'd have to like maybe get a taxi from here to get
yeah,
to this community center in Kingston and so on. And I would just think about it. I was like, well, I'm gonna go there for 3 hours. It's gonna like it'll take me an hour to get there, 2 hours to get there, and then it'll probably be a 2 hour show, and I'll be by myself because none of my friends were pro wrestling fans or MMA fans.
okay,
There were more of the drink, drugs, and uh,
yeah,
girls fans.
okay,
Story of all our lives, and I was like, I don't know anyone. I'm just gonna go there. It's gonna be an indie show. There's gonna be like maybe I don't know 50 people. They're gonna expect me to buy a T-shirt. And what if I don't even like any of the matches? Because I don't know any who these guys are. And I would just get into that mindset of I like there's not enough justifying me going, and I could just go out with my friends instead. And
hmm,
I did that for like right up until I left in 2018, and then I went back to visit friends in 2018.
yeah,
Sorry, I left in 2016. I came back to visit in 2018, and the month I was visiting, there was going to be a New Japan show in London with Rev Pro. I think it was Royal Quest. I'm not
yeah,
sure. And I was like, oh, I should go. I should just go straight from the airport, drop my things off in the hotel, and then go to to Bethnal Green. And then I started looking at the train times, and I started looking at the hotel times, and traffic. I was like, okay, if I go a day early and then I go
Sounds complicated.
London, and then I pop over in the west to see my friends, and
Yeah.
then I pop back over to London, and I was just like, man, I don't have it in me to plan a trip with multiple stops. I haven't left the country since 2023,
Ah.
and that was just to renew my passport
Oh, okay.
back home. And before that, 2018, 2021 for a wedding as well. I'm just not a traveler. I don't know how some people can like just up and go to WrestleMania, or
Right.
they up and go to Japan for a month to follow the G1. It's just insane to me. Like I
It's
just don't. I'm 6'3". I'm a pretty big boy.
alright.
I hate going on a plane. I don't know how people do it. I hate planning anything in advance. I don't know how
Yeah.
people do it.
You're sounding a little bit like CM Punk there,
Uh,
buddy.
I wish I had his paychecks and his passive income. But yeah, no, I just when I see people planning things, like I think Velkage on Twitter had planned to go to Japan for like 2 months or 3 months in advance, and he timed it perfectly because he got to go see Tam Nakano's last match, and he got to see I think a big New Japan show as well.
Yeah.
And he was just I felt so happy for him that he got to experience all that in one like week,
Right.
2 weeks of
He's
wrestling.
also
But at the
European.
same time, yeah, and I was like, and he's like a Czech farmer, I guess.
Yeah.
So it was impressive that he could save up and everything as well. I thought about that. I was like, man, you really wanted to go badly, and you really wanted to go, and you really got to do it, and I'm happy for you. But that couldn't be me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I think there's like shows in Qatar Pro Wrestling. They bring in like a lot of ex
Yeah.
WWE people.
Yeah.
I did the math once. If I took a flight, I would fly from Jordan to Qatar in a direct flight,
Yeah.
or I would have to fly through Bahrain and then come to Qatar. Like depending on the stops, it would either be a 1 hour flight or a 6 hour flight.
My brother,
Because
that's insane for some Qatar
for a
wrestling.
yeah, like if you
You
have
could
to
have
go to
seen
Bahrain
Jushin
because it's
Liger.
strange. There's like a layover. Oh, well, there's like a layover in
Yeah.
Bahrain, and it's like a 5 hour layover just to like I could take a boat probably, and it wouldn't take that. But I was just like, no, it's not worth it. Then
Yeah,
like Miro
man.
pops up, or this wasn't a good idea, but Alberto Del Rio pops up, or Chris Masters pops up, or
El
Eric
Rido.
Bischoff pops up, Rob Van Dam pops up, and I'm like I don't give a shit about Rob Van Dam. I was not an ECW kid. I first saw him in TNA in 2010
Mm.
when I was in university. In TNA in the UK, as many people did. But like, it would have been interesting to at least see him do one 5 star frog splash or whatever.
Yeah.
But no, like I just didn't. I just wound up not doing it, and I think having that distance from pro wrestling gives me a bit of access to a lot of physical live wrestling
Yeah.
because I've only ever seen it on TV, or maybe because I've only ever seen it in like a bad time zone for the most part, unless it was Japan. I think my view of it tends to be a lot different, and uh, maybe your view or someone else's view, just because.
You never watched it live. You didn't have that experience as a live event experience. I always say this on a lot of shows. The live event experience, to me, is kind of like the ultimate experience for pro wrestling because you hear the chops, you hear the hits, you hear the ring, you feel the energy of the crowd. Um, a lot of the times, how it's filmed doesn't convey that. Um, and sometimes some companies will film and like the sound doesn't come through on the TV. So like the best way for me to experience a pro wrestling event personally is to go live, especially like if I'm not following the show. Um, there's just something to it, and it's like a raw, visceral kind of feeling. But for you, man, because of the lack of access. That's what you're saying, right? The lack of access, the lack of resources for people to do the show where you were at. And then you had other choices. You had so many other choices because when you were in the UK, you could have gone to a show, but you decided to instead to just spend that time with your friends. Although you could have invited your friends to a show and had take the piss out of the event. But I digress. That's everybody has their own ways of absorbing this, right? And like every time on every show, I say this not to you personally, but I say this to the person out there listening to this that's like you that never went to a show or like, well, you're kind of like isolated from other fans. I don't know how many other fans there are were in your personal life, like real face-to-face life, organic life, you know? Like, how many other fans do you know of, like, in your real life? Hello? Hello? Oh man, did I get sleeping Droman?
No, I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
No,
like,
no. Sorry, I was just shifting the microphone around, I guess. Um, but yeah, no, I don't think I have any offline IRL friends or family who watch it currently.
oh,
Like my cousins used to watch it when we were kids because it was on TV and it was wrestling.
yeah,
And no, like I think when I talk to my friends a lot, the most I'll hear them ever talk about is Netflix or animes. Um, some of them like dramas a lot.
yeah.
I think they've all aged out of it for the most part. I think if I told them, "Oh, you can watch WWE on Netflix," I think they'd just be confused.
Well, man, like, there's a lot of people like that. Um, and you know, wrestling is very niche, right? But what I like about wrestling is the community that we're a part of. And it might be an online community, but it's still a community. Um, and you know, like we are. I can consider you calling you my friend, even though we've never met face to face, because of how many conversations we've had where we detailed all these different things or detailed like pain. Like, do you mind if I share the missile story?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so this was back when 2023 or 2024.
I want to say it was last. Yeah, it was last year. Last
Okay,
year.
so
So
yeah, you go ahead and tell it because I can't do it justice.
ah, well, I don't. Well, there was two different missile stories. I think I told you. Was it the one I told you over the house or while I
Yeah,
was at work?
you told the one over your house, but I want people to hear both of them because this is in
I
this
mean,
current climate, it's kind of like
yeah.
it's very serious and like um, people don't really have access to people who are actually from that area, and I'm happy that I can talk to somebody from and that lives in the Holy Land and is actually experiencing these kind of trials and tribulations and like not that I'm trying to
Well,
use
I don't.
your danger for my entertainment. I just think like it's important for people to know that this is the kind
No,
of life
no.
people are living.
Well, I'm not gonna discuss the situation in
Yeah, nothing like that.
the West Bank or Gaza to any significant detail. Um, but I will say that because I live in Jordan, and Jordan is something of a gateway country and a transit country. It's often been called the mother of all refugee camps because we have
Yeah,
so many Syrian refugees, we've had so many Palestinian refugees, we've had Iraqi refugees. I went to school for a year with Saddam Hussein's grandkids,
crazy.
which was which was funny. Nobody liked them at all, and they got bullied by everybody. um, yeah, and yeah, so when October 7th started, and a lot of people were uh, kidnapped from Israel, and
Yeah,
the blockade on Gaza took place, and the airstrikes took place. Obviously, a lot of pro-Palestinian movements, whether in Yemen or Iraq or Syria or the Islamic Republic of Iran, decided to do a show of force, a show of support, and given the distances involved geographically, that show of support was firing rockets from wherever they were into Israel, into occupied Palestine.
Yeah.
And on one occasion, there was a particularly big show of force. I think happened after an airstrike in Iran. They hit a bunch of Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps installations, and Iran decided to respond.
Yeah.
The response was firing a few thousand rockets into the air across Iraq, across Jordan to Israel, and
Wow.
we just saw the rockets flying overhead the sky, and some of them landed in a nearby. Some of them fell in the desert. Some of them made it all the way to Israel. Obviously, it goes into Jordanian airspace.
Yeah.
It becomes a concern of the Jordanian Air Force. Air Force shoots it down, protecting their airspace. But yeah, just a nice little bit of fireworks display, magnified by 100 times.
Yeah.
And some of my coworkers and my friends in the city, in the capital, were just seeing it from their balconies, and I, being on a farm, a little bit out of the city, just seeing the night sky turn quite colorful. Rocket fire was interesting.
Yeah, man.
Hearing the explosions on all that. Not the first time I've heard a bomb go off, but first time I saw it next to the house. And then the second time down south working, and Houthis in Yemen decided to fire off some rockets, and it didn't quite make it to Israel that time. It landed more nearby, and we had to field a lot of concerned phone calls from the main office about whether or not we'd been hit because of where the proximity of rockets had landed. Yeah. So they missed Israel both times. They missed Israel both times, but they gave me a couple of good stories to share, I guess.
Hey,
so there is that.
Like, I'm not gonna speak for everybody else, but I was worried about you, bro. Like, cause you said that, like, you're just saying, "Oh, I seen rockets fly overhead." I was like, I was worried about you, bro. Like, and like, what I'm trying to say, like, is like the connection we have is, as stupid as it sounds, it's because of pro wrestling. And even though you're not in love with pro wrestling, yeah. And even though I know you're not in love with pro wrestling right now, I know that you still have a love of pro wrestling, just not what you're watching. And I think like it's important for people to take breaks from some things, you know? Like I take a break from Lent, from like playing video games for 40 days. And I still really haven't jumped back in with all the fighting games. So, you know, it's it lets you compartmentalize, and like it gave me an opportunity to spend more time with dogs and focus on like trying to center myself, and like getting this show started. And I want to let people know that a huge part of this show, a huge part of helping me like with the formatting and all of this stuff with the show is because of Droman here. And I'm really thankful for you, man. You encouraged me to like chase something else, and this is it's really important for me, man.
I mean, I'm glad, man, that you went with it and you chased it down. I don't want to take much of, if any, of the credit, because while I helped you with a bit of the formatting, obviously, you had the idea. You were already pursuing doing this podcast in a couple different ways with a couple different people.
Yeah.
I'm happy that I was able to just shoot the shit with you and come up with some ideas for things that could work, and obviously other people shot some ideas over to you.
Yeah.
A lot of doctor-related puns, as it were.
Yeah, but
doctor-related themes.
Yeah,
but like you're not wrong. Like wrestling has given me good things. It gave me friends that I've been able to talk to through the good times and the bad times. I've been able
Yeah,
to be there for, and they've been able to be there for me.
yeah.
And
Shout out to you, Punk.
AEW AEW didn't give me that. WWE didn't give me that, but
Yeah,
wrestling did give me that.
yeah,
So in a platonic, theological way, I am grateful to wrestling for that.
yeah, man.
And for the friends I've made, friends I may have lost along the way, um, yeah, it's a sobering thing to think about how just getting into one fandom or one medium or one sport can open up your world and give you whole new directions and friendships.
Yeah, dude. I never thought I'd be talking to somebody from the Middle East that wasn't one of my cousins. So it's just like, yeah, man. It's it's remarkable to me, man. This conversation itself is remarkable to me. The stories we shared with each other, the experiences we've had, it's just something that I don't think people within the fandom really think about. Because like you could be on a Discord with all these people internationally, and like doing this show, I've talked to everybody from Portugal to Australia to the UK to Canada through Mexico, um, Germany, like Singapore, Malaysia, and like it's crazy like how this one tiny spark of pro wrestling is what's connecting all of us, you know. And that goes on to say,
Yeah.
um, my since we always share like stuff like food pictures with each other, right? And like you often like you share stuff like you try to make like an American food at home. And like my question for you is like,
Yeah.
what is I want you to name your favorite fast food items that you could. I know you're a fan of the jacket potato, so I want you to describe the perfect jacket potato for me. And then
Well, I'll tell you my favorite fast.
I want you to describe your favorite food that's from your country. But first, I want you to describe their first jacket potato.
Well, even before that, I think I'll tell you what my favorite fast food is. My favorite
Yeah,
fast food is a jalapeno popper with
hell yeah,
cheese inside, just the deep fried. Just I love those. I
hell yeah,
find them
man,
everywhere I go in a fast food place, and they're never good, but they're always great.
hell yeah, man, hell yeah. Jalapeno poppers, and then like if you,
Oh,
I love jalapeno poppers. To dip them in like a chipotle mayo because I'm really fat. You know this. Blood sugar line, all that stuff.
yeah.
I made this joke in like our Discord about the blood sugar line because there's a couple of us, and I'm gonna say it. A couple of us have diabetes. Shout out to you, MJ. Shout out to you, Che. Shout out to Jag. Shout out to SPF. Shout out to Che.
Yeah.
um,
You just you're just unveiling everyone's medical history, huh?
yeah. We're the blood sugar line, so um,
Uh,
I'm just like it's just like you're there's something about like having that jalapeno popper fried, and you get the cheese melty cheese when you bite into it, it just oozes out. Oh my God!
so good.
All right, go
Like
ahead, man.
I need that. I need that as a sandwich.
Oh yeah.
Like stop offering me crunchy chicken. Give me that as a sandwich.
Oh my God, brother.
But yeah,
I need to introduce you to chili relleno. You can look that up right now. Look it up when
mm,
we get off here. Chile relleno recipe, and I think that's gonna be what you're gonna be wanting, man.
chili relleno. Okay, I found it.
Tell me what you think.
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. Okay. Ooh. Yeah. Okay. Ooh. Yeah.
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 Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
brother.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can try to make that because like it's simple. It's just bell pepper with some cheese and like or you got peppers there. You'll be good to go,
Yeah.
man.
We got bell peppers. We got normal peppers.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is doable.
Yeah. So think about because I want to tell the audience this dude. He uses these ingredients in wherever he's from, and he tries to recreate like a hamburger. His mom makes these cookies, and he showed it to us, and I was like, man, that's like some of the best looking cookies I've ever seen. Yeah. MJ's dad also is a very good cookie baker.
And what
I,
is it with parents and baking?
I don't know,
And they've never passed down they never passed down those genes. You
man.
notice that?
Yeah, man. So what's your favorite jacket potato, Mr.
Okay,
UK?
so this is gonna. All right, so yes, God bless Britannia, and God bless British food. I will say this until I die. I'm a baked beans and toast boy. Um, I
You're kidding
think
me.
the best jacket potato is also the best pasta dish,
Okay.
which is tuna mayo on the
Tuna
jacket
mayo.
potatoes or with the pasta. You can add corn to it. You can add some peppers to it. You can add whatever you want to it. But that is the perfect addition. Just tuna and mayo. Pop in some garlic. Pop in some uh, sriracha. Pop in whatever you want. But just tuna mayo potato. I used to fucking live on that when I was in university. I would just get a bag of potatoes and tuna and pasta. And my friends introduced me to all of these British university foods.
Mate.
And I used to hate tuna. Fell in love with tuna after I had it in the UK.
Hey. I like a good tuna salad. I like a good tuna salad. So something,
So good.
yeah, now you got to tell me
Something
something
from
from your
home.
culture. Your culture that,
Okay. I'll give you something that's a bit pan Valentine. So I don't know how big of a dessert guy you are.
oh
I don't
yeah,
know if you can find this
I love desserts,
in
man.
South Carolina,
Yeah, go
but
ahead.
there's this dish called no, is that no? Okay. So there's a dish called
I'm from South
kanafe.
California, Southern California, brother.
There's a couple places in Anaheim and Los Angeles, I guess.
Okay,
Kanafe,
Hanafi.
Knafeh.
Okay.
It is basically syrup, phyllo, pistachio,
Ooh,
and cheese.
okay.
And you can have it in two ways. You can have it in two ways, but there's a few other styles. Some people don't put the cheese on it, some people do. But there's two different ways you can have it. You can have it soft, a soft cover or a rough cover. ناعمة ولا خشنة, as we say in Arabic.
Nice.
And either way you have it, you just drizzle it with syrup.
Mm.
You should always have it fresh. In Nablus in Palestine and in Beirut in Lebanon, they have it in a bun like a burger, and they'll eat
Wow.
it for breakfast or they'll have it for an afternoon brunch sort of thing. And
Hell
it
yeah.
is just pure sugar, guaranteed to kill a diabetic.
Hell yeah. That's gonna take out the whole blood sugar line. Um, I
Oh,
wanna.
so good. And that's the number one thing I would say. Like
Hell
there's
yeah.
everything, there's a lot of different things, and a lot of it is just like something baked with syrup in it.
Mm.
But knafe is your number one thing.
Yeah. The big hot thing over here right now is Dubai chocolate. That's the big thing.
I I don't get it. I don't get Dubai chocolate. Like
Yeah.
it's 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 like we have some things like that here in Jordan,
Yeah.
like local brands. Pistachio is fine. Qataif is fine,
Mm.
but it's not really like a strong flavor. So I don't know why people are going crazy for it.
I don't know. I guess it looks good on the pictures. Man,
Oh, it looks so good.
yeah.
Like I'll get you like two bags of it from Jordan if you want. Like
Brother.
there's brands here that are doing it as well, and it's fine. It's like aggressively fine,
Okay.
but it's not how you would have pistachio, in my opinion. You wouldn't have it with chocolate.
Okay. Man, yeah, if I could send something to you, I'll send it. I want to tell you, brother, it's been a pleasure to have you on here. I want to thank you because you're a maniac who's like me, who's up to all hours of the day for some seemingly weird reason. We're always
Oh
catching each
God,
other
God,
online. Um,
I've got work in 4 hours. God,
oh my God. So I'm gonna hit you with my last question that I always ask everybody. What do you want your rainbow to say?
shoot for the sky. I have no idea what that means.
It's like
When I think of a rainbow, I think of God genociding the people from the Bible,
okay.
and then Noah finding the rainbow after he landed. What would my rainbow say? I don't know what that means. I think my rainbow would say is wrestling is overrated. Have fun anyway.
Okay. And that's our show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for listening. I want to thank Droman for coming in tonight, today, this morning. And man, you're a maniac because
Happy
you
we
got
could
work in
finally get
four
it after
hours.
2 weeks.
Hey, brother, we
Oh,
we had that last episode that I forgot to record, so I'm happy we got this done. And yeah, man, thank you so much, brother. Go get ready for your work, and yeah, man, I peace be with you, man.
I'm gonna sleep, Doc. I'm going to bed for like 3 hours. That's my
Okay,
plan.
okay, go sleep, man. Good night, man. Thank you.
Talk to you later, brother. Sorry it
Okay.
took so long to happen.
Yeah, no problem, man.
Bye.
Bye.